In this video, I want to talk about how it's finally happening. Michael Burry has put his money where his mouth is, betting on a crash, and key high-ranking members of Citadel are abandoning ship left, right and centre. Are you ready? Because I know I am. So stay tuned and let's make some money. So let's dive straight in with the key information. Michael Burry from Scion Capital Management has just disclosed his new portfolio. There's a few major changes to the portfolio, lots of positions going, some new positions entering, and the biggest of all is a short position both on Palantir and Nvidia. I found a better screenshot here that shows the position. Basically, he's taken both puts on Nvidia and Palantir, betting these stocks are going to go down. He's bet $186 million on Nvidia going down and $912 million, just shy of $1 billion, against Palantir. Now guys, before I tell you more about the high-ranking Citadel officials abandoning ship, I've got a very important question I want to ask you on VWAV, and I want your input in the comments below. VWAV, ticker symbol VWAV, trading on the NASDAQ, is the sponsor of today's video. It's already up over 31% in the last month, and they're advancing next generation defense and AI autonomy. The global AI in defense market is growing rapidly. Valued at $25.4 billion last year in 2024, is predicted to reach $65.4 billion in 2034, a 9.9% CAGR compound annual growth rate, and global defense budgets are set to reach $3 trillion by 2028. At its core, VWAV uses AI to help unmanned air vehicles make split-second decisions and act autonomously, using advanced learning models, real-time processing, and dynamic adaptation. But the VWAV platforms aren't just deployed on air vehicles, they operate across land, air, and sea. And their systems cover everything from autonomous mobility and active defense to sensing, logistics, and infrastructure security. They also recently formed a pilot collaboration on unmanned sensing and APS solutions with a Tier 1 US defense company, and even received payment for a new order. On top of that, VWAV has absolutely no debt and a management team with decades of experience across AI, autonomous systems, and advanced defense technologies. So guys, do you think with their Tier 1 US defense partnership that VWAV can grow into a future defense powerhouse? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to research VWAV today, trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol VWAV. And obviously, as you and I both know, when the market crashes and these stocks that have been pumped for liquidity purposes to meet margin requirements, when those stocks drop, when the bottom falls out, all of these banks, hedge funds and institutions are going to end up being margin called. And obviously when those stocks drop, when those banks, hedge funds and institutions can't meet margin requirements, when they get margin called, they have to close out of all of their positions long and short, and it causes short squeezes in many heavily shorted speculative names across the market. I also absolutely loved this video of Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, being questioned. The interviewer asked, saying, how can a company with just $13 billion in revenues make $1.4 trillion of spending commitments? You may have seen a screenshot floating around on the web of how all of these AI companies have effectively just been pumping each other up, expanding these market capitalizations when really it's all built on vaporware. It's basically just a big massive circle. Nvidia does business with OpenAI, OpenAI does business with AMD, AMD does business with Nvidia, Nvidia does business with AVGO, who does business with TSM, who does business with Nvidia. The cash is just passing from one hand to another, backwards and forwards, and all of these businesses are counting it as massive amounts of sales, just like OpenAI is doing here with 13 billion in revenues, but they say they're going to make investments of $1.4 trillion.
You know, how can a company with 13 billion in revenues make 1.4 trillion of spend commitments? You know, and you've heard the criticism,
First
Sam.
of all, We're doing well more revenue than that. Second of
Yeah.
all, Brad, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. I just enough. Like,
if you guys were, are doing in excess of $100 billion of revenue in 28 or 29, that you at least would be in position. What?
How about 27?
Yeah, 27, even better.
So even Sam Altman is saying there, yes, we are doing more revenue than 13 or 14 billion dollars, but we won't be doing 100 billion in revenues, not in 2026, but maybe in 2027. We may bring in 100 billion, but by then we're definitely going to have spent 1.4 billion. Where does the money come from? It doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what Michael Burry is betting against. He knows it's a sham. He knows AI, quantum, and effectively the wider market is going to come crashing down. And he's betting over $1 billion in total against it. Now, on top of that, all of the juicy details are coming out between Andrew Left and Anson Funds. Kristen tweeted saying in a heavily redacted 30-page long court filing, Left pretty much admits that he was indeed paid by Anson Funds in a short selling arrangement, where he'd share part of the profits prior to issuing a short report on this company. So there we have it. Hedge funds are being directly paid to issue short reports, and the short sellers are even sharing a portion of the profits with the short reporters. Saying here, the article in the lawsuit also talks about how small biotech companies, some even working on cures, are easy targets for naked short selling. As you can see here, the article is even titled The GME Short Seller or GameStop Short Seller that's turning on Anson Funds as the TradFi dirt all spills out. I even love how they've linked the two. It's this GameStop short seller, Andrew Left, who was paid by Anson Funds to issue short and distort reports. So exactly what we've been saying all along, that these hedge funds and short sellers are indeed making short and distort reports against GameStop, AMC and other meme stocks, proven now in court. And not only are they making these short and distort reports, they're even being paid for it directly from other short sellers. And as I said at the start of the video, or as Reese's Politics has tweeted, he said that multiple high-level executives have abruptly left Ken Griffin's Citadel. It says here that Calra is just the latest departure, adding to a handful of senior departures in the firm's equities division. So Mark Hansen, the head of Surveyor Capital, Derek Maltz, who worked with Mark Hansen, Alex Topkins, head of BD for the Global Equities Unit, Evan Ainger, deputy head of Equities BD, Caitlin Nutter, who reported to Evan Anger and ran Central Equities BD, they all left. So this Global Equities Unit, the head, the deputy head, the deputy head, and a top executive at this Global Equities Unit all left. There must be something really sketchy going on in this Global Equities Unit at Citadel for so many people to be leaving. And this has also happened at a very interesting time, as Biotech Moose has tweeted, because as of the 30th of September 2025, all of the AMC short sellers who had disclosed short positions have now all flipped long. He's done the work and he's gone through the 13F filings, and all of those short sellers who had way more puts than calls and shares now all of a sudden have way more shares and calls than they have puts. Basically, every single hedge fund on this list is now betting that AMC will be going up. They have more calls than they have puts, and they have more shares as well. Many of these have been shorting since 2021, and many of them are now going to long-only positions. But not just that, as Biotech Moose has also tweeted, all of these hedge funds have indeed been going long, and the institutional ownership has been increasing, and now over 40% of AMC's float is held by institutions. So all of these hedge funds are indeed loading the boat, even disclosing that, so they're clearly preparing for something. And again, what interesting timing, because just yesterday, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley's CEOs are predicting a correction of up to 20%, sparking a global sell-off. Again, how coincidentally timed that these big bank CEOs are now all of a sudden predicting a 20%, at least a 20% market crash. Guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, guys, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.